This is one of those games where it's really frustrating to be a Bulls fan, because not only did the Bulls lose to a Sixers team that was without their two-star players, one of which is an MVP candidate, but they got blown out badly and really falling apart in the fourth quarter. I mean, there was a reason why I said in my weekly preview video from earlier this morning that I wasn't going to consider this to be a slam dunk win against the Sixers, because it's still the Sixers, one of the best teams in the league, and they do have some quality players even outside of Embiid and Simmons, namely in Tobias Harris, who has been a borderline all-star this season. But I thought they would at least make it a respectable game, a competitive game at a minimum. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. I'm not even going to say it because you probably aren't doing well, but if you watched what I just witnessed, it was a tough pill to swallow. Look, I don't know what it's going to take for the Bulls to stop turning the ball over. It's been the story of this whole season. It's been their biggest issue. 19 turnovers in total against a team that was without their two best defenders. Well, really their two best players. It's just inexcusable. I didn't see the energy, the heart, the intensity, or the passion to come out for the game and take care of business, knowing that they could walk away with a win against the team that would have otherwise been seen as a loss normally, with a team without their two best players. I guess that's really the only positive from this loss, if you can call it that, and that if you look at the Bulls, you look at their overall schedule, this is a game that most people would have projected to be a loss, knowing that it was against the Sixers. So it likely doesn't impact their overall playoff chances that much when looking at the win-loss column and projecting what it's going to look like for the future. But at the end of the day, it's a game they could have stolen to make some headway in the standings. And what was also disappointing is that the Bulls went toe-to-toe with this team in their last meeting when they had Embiid. Granted, they still didn't have Simmons. And I think that's the thing I struggle with most as a Bulls fan, is you never know what Bulls team you're going to get on a nightly basis. Other than that you can expect they're going to turn the ball over frequently. I want to see some consistency in their play. I honestly feel like the last time we saw any kind of consistency in play from a Bulls team, meaning you knew what kind of team you were going to get night in and night out. And that was the 2010-11 Bulls, the year that Rose won the MVP and they finished with the best record in the league. There was never a surprise in that season. Sure, they had a bad few games here and there, just like any team, but they brought energy and hustle every night and made the games competitive. Anyway, I'll stop rambling on about the past, but turnovers aside, where's the defense from the Bulls, specifically the perimeter defense? I mean, we knew this team is not a good defensive team, the Bulls meaning. I don't expect them to become an elite defensive team overnight, but at least some effort, some strides that are being made, that they're at least improving in these areas. Letting a Sixers team score 127 points on you without Embiid and Simmons is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. How do you let Dwight Howard get 18 points and 12 rebounds on you? How do you let Kormaz score 16 points on you? I barely even know who that guy is. The Sixers starters, outside of Tobias Harris, really didn't even play all that well. We let their bench manhandle us. And our bench, outside of Thagic, of course, didn't really show up that well. Otto Porter, not a good first game back for him. So much for trying to showcase him before a potential trade deadline. Now Markkanen, on the other hand, he essentially picked up right where he left off. Where all my haters at, calling him soft and weak. The guy shot 7 for 7 from 3 tonight, 23 points, 4 rebounds, the Bulls' leading scorer tonight. Defense, though, I mean, Markkanen has to work on his lateral footwork on defense. Just in general, if he really wants to take that next step to being a star player, he has to improve upon his defense. Wendell Carter only played 15 minutes tonight. He did get 8 points and 9 rebounds in that time span, but wasn't really all that effective. Coby with 18 points. Outside of Markkanen, he shot pretty well, shooting 7 for 16, 4 for 7 from 3. But again, defense is so key for all of these guys. And still with Coby, we're seeing that he's just much more effective playing off the ball than being a playmaker. Zach LaVine, not the best game back. Returning from the All-Star game, he struggled to find his 3-ball, which, as we know, the Bulls really rely on a lot in terms of their overall offense. LaVine also snapped his streak of games scoring more than 20 points, finishing just shy by 1 point with 19 overall. He also had 4 of the Bulls' 19 turnovers. What I did like seeing from LaVine, though, was that he was moving the ball well and being a playmaker out there when his shots weren't falling. He had 7 assists tonight, which was a team high. What's funny is that if you look at the Bulls' overall shooting numbers, they look decent. You're shooting 47% from the field, 48% from 3 compared to the Sixers 30%. But the difference is turnovers. And then obviously the Bulls' interior defense, they let Howard get whatever he wanted, which is just ridiculous. I will say, I'm glad that both Markkanen and Otto are back. The Bulls are essentially all healthy, which is very rare to say. But I do worry about how this has affected the lineup overall, because I do think Patrick Williams played very nicely at power forward. He's probably better suited for that type of position. On top of that, you now have Garrett Temple coming off the bench, and he actually did well filling in at the 3 with Markkanen being out and Patrick Williams then moving over to the 4. I know it didn't really show up that much in the stat sheet, but Garrett Temple was very critical in terms of the box plus minus and the effect that he had on the court when he was in the starting lineup. And so the overall rotations and adjustments with guys on the floor, did seem to impact their ability to move the ball effectively, almost like their communication and rhythm was a bit off. I'm not saying it's a problem that needs to be addressed ASAP. I'm sure it's just the guys getting used to having Lauri and Otto back in and players being adjusted a bit in the rotation. I wouldn't be surprised if it takes them another game or two to get used to this shift on the court. But I do think if it does continue, and especially if you continue to see the defense suffer as a result, Billy Donovan is going to have to make some adjustments, because having Temple's defense in the starting lineup was key in playing with that first unit. Markkanen, Coby, LaVine, not good defenders. As great as they are on offense, they can sometimes be liabilities on the other end. And with all of them in the same unit getting the majority of minutes, it could potentially be a problem. I mean, in general, the Bulls have to address the issue with their defense, because even the guys who are known for being better defenders, guys like Wendell, Patrick Williams, Temple, Thaddeus Young, they've been playing well on defense, but not at an elite level. And if you have guys like Lauri, Coby, and LaVine who are mainly offensive threats that lack on defense, you need other guys to make up for those defensive holes. I'm talking like all defensive team player type level defense. Anyway, I know that's probably a lot to ask at this point, and obviously changes like that aren't going to happen overnight. Again, I'm sure a lot of this will be addressed in the offseason, the struggles with defense is what I mean, but I just want to see the guys stop turning the ball over so much and play hard on the defensive end. I don't know, maybe that's too much to ask for, but that's really what we need to see. In any event, this is a bad loss for the Bulls. Anytime you get blown out by a team with their 2 best players being out and your team is fully healthy, it's a bad loss. But we just need to put it aside and move on to the next game, which is tomorrow night, where the Bulls will be taking on the Miami Heat. I really hope Billy Donovan lights a fire under these guys to come out with focus and intensity for tomorrow's game after they saw tonight's performance, because the Bulls really need a bounce back win. I'll be out with another video tomorrow, as well as a group chat for the game, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks again for tuning in as always, guys. I know it's never easy tuning in after a bad loss, but I do appreciate it regardless. Take care, and I will catch you in the next one.